Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and like, follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Good morning, Dr. Jenny.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Oh, you know why we're having a podcast today?
No.
Because we're going to give people hope. We're going to give them hope.
Oh, no.
What? You don't want to give it away?
I didn't bring any with me.
Oh, you don't carry a bag full around?
I didn't bring that particular briefcase to work today.
Oh, no. What are we going to do now?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you all for listening. Have a good... Just kidding. Well, no, the topic of my podcast topic today is more about...
Wait, can you say topic one more time?
Topic. My topic. I don't know topic. Anyway, I I want to make sure that everybody understands that when you're going through spiritual awakening and ascension and changing your vibrational standard, sometimes you bump up against things that can be tough to handle. And just know that you're going through these things for a reason, and that you are aligning with your higher self. When humanly you may be feeling emotional about it or upset about it, but on the other side of that is greater expansion.
Of course.
And I think the hope part of that is where some people get confused. Like, we have depression. We have all these things out there where people get bothered by things and they get depressed or down on themselves. And the reality is this life situation right now is 100% just a stage. The Bible says this too shall pass. And there is a lot of truth to that statement. It will all pass. It will all move on once you figure out what's holding you in that spot.
Well, I mean, yeah, because essentially in the rabbit hole form of things, this is just a dream.
It is.
Your spirit is basically having a dream.
There's lots of parameters that go into all of this. Lots of things that feed into your vibrational frequency, your human actions, your beliefs, your patterns and programs. And when you come up against something that is a tough one, it can be daunting of a task, and it can put us into that human spot of despair, which on the emotional guidance system ladder is like the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah, it's very, very low energy.
And so when you're in that spot, you have to stop and say, oh, this is as bad as it gets, because you're in despair already, right? And so it's the worst. And, you said it one day in a podcast that getting angry about something is actually a higher level of vibration than despair.
Yeah. I mean, we've been taught that being angry is a bad thing and you shouldn't do it.
I agree.
When in reality, the anger is higher up on the emotional level scale. And it's actually a good thing because you've come from the lower level vibration to a higher level frequency. And that then is going to take you to the next level that's above that. If you can think about it from a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being despair is a good word, and joy and bliss being 10, and anger's, somewhere in between the middle or third or the way up. You've just basically stepstoned yourself up to a higher frequency by being angry.
Yeah, you've ascended to a
Just
higher
don't hang
vibration.
out there.
Right. Keep on going up the ladder.
Right. Work on the whatever's coming up for you. And as you release the beliefs, patterns, programs around it, you'll naturally ascend up that emotional scale.
Agreed. And, the part of it that, there's a specific thing. I'm currently doing this seminar on the power of thought. And one of the people in this seminar asked about, why do I get mad at myself when I have a health problem come up? Or why do I get disappointed or confused? And my response to that is, well, I guess you could be totally without hope in it. And she was like, oh, I said, because to have anger, you have to have hope that there's something better. And you're just mad that the hope has not revealed itself yet. And so I kind of identifying that for people to make sure they understand that when you are in your worst spot, that is your worst spot. It don't get any worse.
Right.
And so, and if you stop and look, and what gives you hope is the realizing that the ascension on the other side of it is there.
Yeah, that should be exciting.
Yeah, that's right. And that which goes up the ladder of your emotional ladder. Which,
if you can get to a place where you're non-judgmental of the emotions and just accepting of them as you climb that ladder, and even then go to a higher school of thought, if you will, that when you are excited about having an emotion on the lower end of the scale, because you know that on the other side of that is a higher frequency.
Yeah. And completeness.
Right. Yeah.
That feeling of, okay, I feel complete.
Yeah, because it feels good. It feels good to go from despair to anger. And so, we talk about a lot finding the better feeling place in every given moment.
Right.
And sometimes on some topics that are very heavy and very challenging, and you are in that place of being at the bottom of the bucket, the only place you can go to get to a better feeling place is anger. And anger does feel better than the hopelessness and the despair. And so giving back the value in a positive form to that emotion called anger, instead of it just kind of continuing to carry this negative connotation, is probably something that we would all benefit from.
Yeah. They say that there's I've heard in some religious practices that the Golden Gates.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you have to go out and act on that anger outwardly.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't go around, like going postal, so to speak, like busting things up that aren't yours or acting out in a public forum, because that will definitely get you in trouble if you're living on the three-dimensional earth that has the constructs in place where it's not legal necessarily to go shoot someone or mess up their property or whatever. You still have to live within the confines of that, but definitely in your own private space, allowing that anger to be.
I'm glad you just opened that door, because it's a great place to add in to this part, is having emotions is part of a personal journey that you should not project on anybody else.
Yes.
And when you have emotions on it, like especially the negative vibration ones, now when you're happy about something, share it with the world. Tell everybody, this happened to me. You want to build that energy. Now, when it comes to the negative side, the lower half, the 5 and below, I think on the emotional ladder,
isn't that a store?
5 Below. It is. Yeah, maybe they should sponsor us. Anyway, the part of that is remembering that emotional based decisions that create actions have consequences.
Well, I mean, all actions have consequences. That's another word that would be beneficial to give it a positive and negative meaning.
Yes, I agree.
Because there's positive consequences as well.
Agreed.
I digress. I'll let you continue.
And so when we do have that, because I call it the 10-step emotional ladder, which I'll put it on the website once I get it all written up this week, because Dr. Jenny doesn't know this, but she's going to create it for my Power of Thought School this week.
Oh, wow. Okay,
and
great. Thanks.
that emotional ladder, we'll put it up on the website so you can see it I'll have our internet person create a spot that says forums.
She's
so you can
amazing,
see it.
by the way.
She is. And the consequences behind the 1 through 5 part of that, I think, which is half of it. I call it a 1 to 10 scale. And so if you take the negative side and you create actions based off your emotional responses towards anything other than keeping it internal, can create a domino effect of issues. And when you get in a fight with your loved one,
it can definitely create a whole subcategory of emotions that will come with it.
Correct. Yeah. And sometimes even beliefs and habits.
Yes.
Because how many times have you heard people say, man, I got mad and said this and I wish I hadn't. I didn't mean it.
Right. That's regret.
That's regret. And which is on the emotional ladder, which I think is a little above angry. But when you create, because to have regret, you have to have conscious awareness of what you did was wrong.
Yeah. So regret, actually, technically, and like we said, I'll get the download for it and put it on. But regret, actually, I believe, has a frequency a little bit lower than anger.
Oh, okay. The point of it that I want to make is when you're working on that lower level vibration with your emotional responses, just know that the positivity behind it is you always climb the ladder. As humans, we by nature climb the ladder.
Yeah, because by nature, that mechanism is designed to find the better feeling place in every given moment.
Yeah, that's correct. In the Power of Thought School, we went over the levels of consciousness. And, I don't know if you know this or not, being a hypnotist, you probably do. But, they discovered another level of consciousness called the gamma level.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the gamma level is kind of a combination of the theta and the alpha.
Right.
And what they have discovered is that the gamma level is a level of consciousness that your subconscious mind creates conscious actions. And when we are in that spot of emotional guidance system, our subconscious, based upon our belief, will create actions. And we have to be aware enough of our reality to know that just because our subconscious mind thinks that it's okay to go stab your boyfriend's tires and let all the air out doesn't mean your conscious mind and your human experience wants it. And so that is kind of a response area for conscious awareness.
Yeah, and so to break it down into more elementary type terminology, it could be labeled as almost a form of instinct.
Yeah, that's instinctual. And that's what they're saying about the gamma level, because I did a lot of reading on it this last week.
The instincts that are ingrained in us and that are taught to us, but then also the instincts that our physical body has in live in that gamma realm.
And so
like breathing when you're asleep. It would be very tiresome to have to wake up and breathe.
Yeah, we just saw that somewhere, that the dolphins, they wake up every couple of minutes underwater while they're asleep just to breathe.
Right. They actually only let half of their brain sleep at a time.
Yeah.
So and they shut the other eye. Can stay awake and
breathe.
Breathe.
That's kind of crazy that we have that much. That's how intelligent they are.
Yeah.
But the takeaway from this is understanding, like one of the examples I read about the gamma level of consciousness was a gentleman was driving down the road and a car pulls out in front of him, and he instinctually swerves to avoid the accident.
Yeah.
And the lady in the passenger seat of his car said, I would have never done that. And so understanding that this gentleman has the ability to put himself into a gamma consciousness without thinking about it, and this woman doesn't, is just practice in trusting your instinct.
Well, it's definitely understanding the mechanism of the belief.
Yeah.
Because she does have the ability. She just thinks she doesn't.
Right.
Because it's lack of information.
That's correct.
We all have the ability and we all do it because, like I said, breathing is a prime example.
On a delta level, right?
Breathing is that instinctual gamma.
No, it's the beta level. Beta level.
Breathing is that instinctual gamma level.
Yeah.
Like you're built with that instinct to continue to breathe and not have to think about it. Like you don't have to think. You're not like a vampire where you say, okay, breathe. So you look normal and human-like.
So the most interesting part of that I was reading was that they started testing literally a 4-day-old child. And that 4-day-old child actually had every level of consciousness that they could record because they have figured out how to measure it through frequency. And the gamma level is at 9.5 to 11.4 hertz.
Right.
And the beta level, which used to be thought to be, it's like 6.9 to 8 something on the hertz level, was the level of unconscious thought, where your body, your heart beats, you breathe, you blink your eyes, those unconscious involuntary muscle actions. Right. And now they're moving it into the gamma level.
Right.
But understanding all this stuff I kind of detoured a little bit on the topic here, but understanding these different levels, because I want to make sure everybody understands that you put yourself in states of hypnosis throughout the day, every single day.
Of course.
When you 100%. Are meditating, when you're watching TV, when you're driving, you put yourself on different levels of consciousness and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Right.
And when you put yourself into a emotional response system that creates that level of being level of consciousness where you've done it to yourself, you have to realize that the hope on the other side of it is what helps control the emotional response within you. Even though your mind is saying, go do this, you have to have that ability to say, okay, wait a minute, that's not the right thing to do at this time.
As far as physical actions, yes.
Correct, yeah.
But as far as allowing yourself to have those emotions, you definitely don't want to put the brakes on that. You definitely don't want to pump the brakes on having the emotion.
Right.
You want to pump the brakes if you're wanting to act upon that anger in such a way that will cause you not to live within the confines of the laws that you have agreed to play in.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we
Owning
all
your
came
emotions
here,
is okay.
On this planet, whether you're currently existing on the 3-dimensional realm or 4 or 5, because those are all very prominent and going on. On each one of those earths, there is an underlying, set of rules that you've agreed to abide by.
Yeah.
Like the laws of the government, the laws of the whatever. And acting upon that anger against those laws will bring about definitely a challenging journey that will bring you to a place of evolution.
Yeah.
It just might not be the most pleasant way to go about it.
I was reading on that gamma level stuff and they're comparing it to the alpha level that we put ourselves into. Wait a minute, is it theta level that we put ourselves into? Because the gamma level and how they, on the description that the guy gave on what I was reading.
So the theta is a very deep level that I
maybe
put
it was
you
beta.
Into when I hypnotize you.
And so beta.
And so the alpha and the beta are the initial levels.
Right.
Alpha is what we walk around in pretty much the majority of the day. Beta is
when you're watching TV and
when
stuff.
You're driving, when you're.
And so what the description on there was, comparing gamma to beta. Let me clarify, because, and the example they gave on it is you take a martial arts expert,
Yeah.
and he is a 3rd-degree black belt, yada yada yada, and then you bring in somebody that is new at it but still a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the time span by which they switch from alpha to beta for the responses of why the 3rd-degree black belt wins when this black belt over here knows everything that this guy knows, because black belt is black belt. It's just the degrees are different levels of reactions. And like so it was kind of plain to see that the time span as you become more practiced in it is what makes you better at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a rabbit hole topic too. That's fun to explore, because that's all time really is.
Yeah.
It gives us an opportunity to experience the steps within the process.
Ain't nobody got time for
that. On a linear level, because going through the steps and achieving success as we define it through each step and patting yourself on the back and saying, oh, I did that. It feels so good. It feels really good.
Right.
Is part of the enjoyment in anything that you learn to do or anything that you go through and achieve. So we put that time in place for ourselves for that purpose.
Yes. The point I was getting to is, and why, and I know where our podcast is about hope. The reason why is because I wanted to educate people.
Who the heck is hope?
Make people understand that the gamma level is the spot where you get angry at, because it's an unconscious response to a conscious matter.
It can be. When you practice it enough, you can feel it coming.
Yeah, right.
And you can acknowledge its arrival.
Correct.
And then you can sit with it and marinate in its existence.
And so I know this may sound weird to say, but where people can get hope at is by going in their subconscious mind and turning that little dial up for a faster response, identifying the anger quicker, identifying the depression quicker, identifying the despair quicker. So you can sit with it quicker and get the hope out of it.
Right. I mean, I think part of that, so if we dial it down just a little bit, part of that is, first of all, getting to a place where you allow the emotion to happen.
Yes, own the emotion.
By allowing it to happen and not boxing it in or keeping yourself from having the emotion, regardless of what its name is reminding you of what the frequency of that emotion is.
Yeah.
Because remembering that the multiverse and everything is based on frequency.
Right.
So learning what the different frequencies are of things is a very key component to understanding our entire existence, the multiverse, and everything.
Right.
So first, being aware that you're having the emotion and allowing yourself to have it will open up a space of learning, okay, what does that feel like? What does that frequency feel like? You don't even have to know that you're in gamma. You don't even have to know that anger lives at a frequency of about 20 hertz. You don't have to know those details.
Yeah.
Just knowing what it feels like in your body, because each person's physical body is going to exhibit that in a certain way, because you've created a certain language with your own body.
Agreed.
And it's not going to be the same for every single person. Like for me, when I get intensely angry, I tend to feel mine in my digestive tract.
Yeah.
Like I'll get
heartburn,
kind of like a almost heartburn, burning sensation. And it sometimes it'll go into nausea depending on how deep the anger is.
Yeah.
But then other people may experience it as a headache or
Yeah.
trembling or whatever. And so whatever your language is that you've created with the body, some people may not even have any physical experiences with it because they've boxed it up for so long
Yeah.
and ignored it for so long. They may have to begin at that very entry level of just allowing it to come in.
Yeah.
And then figuring out what that language is and how your physical body is going to say, okay, here, this is anger. This is what it feels like. Then once you know what it feels like on kind of like a vibrational frequency level, it will help you navigate the rest of the emotions and navigate that scale. And then from there, the next step is you will get to a point where you say, okay, you know what? That did make me angry. I know that it made me angry, but the positive and exciting thing is I know that on the other side of anger could be frustration or could be neutrality. And from there, I know that I'm going to go into a place of peace.
Yes.
Happiness.
You know, the
joy.
The really cool part about all this is through my studies through it is how they're measuring emotional wavelengths in the brain now. And
yeah, it's so funny that you bring this up because that was what I was reading this morning. The oscillating frequencies and
of the emotions.
That was, just of energy, and then it tied it into emotions. And the doctor that created that chart back in the 1800s. In 1880, Dr. David, wish I could call his last name, actually started exploring what hurts the emotions were on. And so even back then, they were beginning to explore that and identify that each of those emotions holds a frequency.
Oh, yeah, no, and they do. It's actually, you can read it now. Scientifically, they have studied it through the EEGs and those things to where it actually marries into the areas of the levels of consciousness.
Right. And then from there, what happens is you'll start to notice that when you're in a emotional frequency, you'll see the people around you change.
Yeah.
Like if you get angry, you will see, like if you're in a conversation and it gets heated and you immediately go into anger, you can see the interaction escalate. But then if you're aware that you're getting angry and you're putting that energy out, you'll get to a place where you can catch yourself and say, oh, you know what? This is taking the conversation in a direction I don't want to go. So let me bring my own energy down, come to a calm place so I can de-escalate the situation. Right. Then you'll see the other person or people begin to calm and de-escalate and the energy of the room change.
Yes, totally agree.
That is something you can definitely witness and play with.
In the spiritual world,
fun world,
we know that like attracts like. Energy attracts energy. Everything attracts energy. And so the example...
we're all connected.
And we're all connected. I agree. The part to identify within that is the conversation I just had in my class last week is if you take two magnets have a positive side and a negative side.
Yeah.
And if you put the two positive sides together, what happened? They pop together. Yep. They pop right together. And you take the negative side to the positive side and it'll throw it away.
Yeah.
And that's where magnetic forces come to play. Now, you can take the two negatives and put them together and it will stick together. But you can't put positive to negative and negative to positive. Right. It has to be negative to negative or positive to positive.
Yeah.
And that's how you stack magnets. And when you are in that vibrational frequency of despair or anger or whatever it is, your hope is in the fact that you're going to change from negative to positive really soon as you move up the ladder, and then you're going to start attracting more of that positivity because that's how nature works.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's completely how it works. Like, for example, too, is what I'm learning, because I'm just for the first time experiencing the house plant things, and I'm starting to grow plants.
Yeah, we're plant parenthood.
Yeah, we're in plant parenthood right now. I've never been able to grow anything other than weed. But we are now in the
Disclaimer: we don't currently grow weed.
No, I don't grow weed. No, how I grew it back then is I de-seeded
We are good on that topic. Thanks. Moving on. We don't want the DEA up our butt.
But what I've learned in that is you have some plants that will grow well with others and some that will not grow well with others.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, I think they call it a freckle plant. I don't even really know their names, and we give them names, but I don't know what kind of plants they are.
We give them their own names.
But the one I call the speckle plant, because they have a green leaf with a white speckly look on them.
Yeah.
And I call them speckle plants. It grows well with a tropical plant, which is what I put in there by nature. I didn't even know that. I just kind of did it.
Right. Well, and that's because on a subconscious level, when you're humanly out of your way and you're going along your day, you're reading frequencies a billion, trillion, gazillion, giggle, zillion times a second.
Gigatillion. Giggletillion?
Giggletillion.
That's a lot.
It is a bunch. And naturally, or air quote, intuitively, you will do things.
Yeah.
Such as choosing the two plants that will live very well and complement each other. You're reading that energy.
I started to put the blue flowery plant in with the other plants down on the bottom left one, the red ones.
Right.
And when I was in the process doing it, I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work.
Right.
And then the lady that came and looked at the plants for me told me, yeah, you can't put that one with that one because that one will kill that one. It'll choke it out.
See, and that was just
It was kinda cool.
reading the energy of that vibrationally.
And that gave me hope that I was doing it right.
That you would be a good plant parent.
Yeah, I would be a good plant parent and not one that just kills everything.
You're doing so good.
They're actually doing well.
They are. They're doing very well. We have two very large fellas called Bo and Luke.
Yeah. One's a dragon tree? And one is a corn tree.
Yeah, corn something tree.
And
they were adopted from the plant orphanage.
Orphanage at IKEA.
At IKEA.
They were in the clearance area and they were dying. And so we adopted them.
The funny story is that we actually thought they were fake.
We did.
We went in there to get fake plants for our patio when we redid our patio. And I think we talked about this in the podcast. But now it's almost like they're attached to each other.
Yeah, you keep them together or they don't like it.
Yeah, it's like whenever we try to put them in different locations, Luke especially, he's very attached to Bo, and he gets very sad and droopy if we separate them, which I find very comical.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Luke got a big haircut yesterday.
He did. I had watered him a little bit, and I think it kind of put him in a shock and the cold. We left him outside, and it was cold.
Well, he was quite damaged when we got him.
He did have a lot of damage.
His travels.
Yeah, he came with a suitcase full of problems.
He did, so we had to lighten his load.
But I think he looks much perkier the last 2 days.
He looks better today.
He looks a lot better. But anyway, So the hope behind it in our podcast is to understand the levels of all these stuff that goes on, and especially the emotions. The emotional guidance system is there for a reason, and you should own it and own the emotions that come up with it and understand that the hope behind everything is, it's a ladder. It goes up. And as you hit more things, you may drop back down a little bit, then you go up, and that's okay. Your goal is to keep yourself on the 6 and up.
Well, your goal is the true goal, because we don't want to get tangled up in having an expectation that we've got to stay in a high vibrational state.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
because
you're right. I shouldn't have said it that way.
The reality of it is we come onto this earth for the experiences of having the emotions.
Correct.
So the true goal is embracing that every single emotion on each and every topic and experience has value.
Yeah.
because you came in wanting to experience the reality that you're creating at that moment.
Yes.
And so understanding that you've created the reality that you're experiencing and that it is happening for you, not to you, and that the emotions will fluctuate based on the experience that you chose to have because you wanted to experience that emotion.
Agreed.
Around that topic, from that perspective, on that degree of existence.
So there's your hope, is knowing that you are the one that created it.
And that
so
you have
you're in
control
control
of
of it. That's right.
That's right.
And so the hope within it is to understand that I created this, I accept it, and now I'm going to move on from it. And that's that level by which gives you hope is that I created it. So you're in control of it, really.
Yeah. And that
You're ultimately in the control.
You can choose to continue to experience it.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to acknowledge that, okay, you know what? I experienced it. I'm complete with that. I'm ready to put it on the historical shelf in the Universal Library and move on.
Yep.
And then move on and don't get caught up in a habitual loop.
Yeah.
Of continuing to re-experience
don't
it
dwell
if
on
you
it.
don't want to.
Right. Or don't dwell on it unless you want to.
Right.
And there's really no, in my opinion of it, if it's on the bottom of the ladder, there's no need to dwell on any of it. It's just know that the hope of your hope is I created this, I experience it, I own it, now I'm moving on.
And so let's briefly just visit some techniques that can help get to that.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. So if you find that you keep seeing or experiencing in your reality a scenario that you're not enjoying.
Yeah.
And you've come to a place where you acknowledge, okay, I see the contrast and I am not enjoying it and I would really like for it to change. But then you go to bed, you wake up and poof, the contrast is still there. And you're like, dang it, I thought I worked on that belief or those beliefs.
Damn, it's still there.
Take a erasable marker and draw over the Sharpie and then erase it and it will magically disappear.
I know, that's I was today years old when I learned that. I was like, what the heck?
It does work.
Yeah, it does. You on any permanent marker.
Yeah.
You can take a dry erase marker and right over top of it and erases it.
Right.
If you wipe it off. You have to wipe it off. But
anyway, so techniques that you can utilize would be, ask yourself this question, first of all. And I am a big believer in writing it down until you get to that point where you've practiced your methods so thoroughly that you don't have to write things down anymore. Write it down and say, what do I have to believe? What do I continue to choose to believe to be true in order for this to keep appearing in my reality? Would be one question you could ask.
yes.
Another way you could ask it, or an additional question would be, have I learned everything that I wanted to learn from having this experience? And then go through and list what have you learned? Identify those on an aware state of mind.
Agreed.
And not just leave it in the subconscious. Really visit that and really explore that and get honest and clear on what did I learn from that experience.
Yes.
So that you can make a grocery list basically of getting to know what did you learn.
Right.
Because sometimes doing that exercise by itself will bring you to that place of, oh, okay, now that I've acknowledged and really brought to the forefront of my mind what I did learn from it, positive and negative, then that belief will dissolve instantaneously.
Yes.
And what I find for myself is once I ask those two questions, what works best for me is the secondary question of, okay, what is it that I did learn?
Yes.
What is it that I did take away from that? And am I finished with it? And that belief just instantaneously dissolves. It's almost challenging to even remember what the topic was.
That happens to me a lot.
Yeah, it's almost hard to even retrieve it back to...
I knew I was upset yesterday, but I don't know why.
Yeah. And so that for me, based on the language that I've created within my process, is the biggest indicator that, okay, that belief has either dissolved and been replaced by something else, or I've gotten that one rewritten to a place where it is beneficial for my next level of experience.
Yes, 100%.
And so those would be two techniques that I would explore.
I think another technique that we can add to that is to understand, because the majority of the time I would say we have things that come up because we are A, accepting of something somebody else did, or B, we're expecting somebody else to do something. And I think the other process that we can identify is understanding that you control nobody but you.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a third. I think there's a C.
Yeah.
Having...
That would be a D, by the way, because you did 2 and I did 1.
Okay.
So I did C.
Okay, whatever.
Can't you see that?
Whatever letter of the alphabet we're on.
Yeah.
Also remembering that if you have a very stern expectation or insistence upon how something must look, that can kind of keep you trapped in it as well.
Yeah, that's limiting.
And so go ahead. I just wanted to throw that one in there.
I think talking about controlling other people or expecting other people to do things, A, is you can't have an expectation that's not communicated, and B, no matter what scenario, you cannot control anybody else's reality. And you can give them options. You can tell them things. You can be putting yourself out there or say, or you can say, I expect you to do this, or I want you to do that, but it's still their choice.
Yes. And it's none of your business what they do.
That's right. It is totally not your control, not your business. And you make a choice to stay in that scenario or you don't, just like they make a choice to accept what you said or they don't.
Right.
Or what your expectation is. And when you can come to a greater understanding that the only reality that you control is your own, and people are in your bubble because A, you put them there, and B, because they choose to be there. And so even if your girlfriend or boyfriend does something, or your husband or your wife or your son or whatever, they do something to you that angers you or puts you in that lower level vibration of the emotional guidance system, you have to stop and find your part in it and give yourself the hope to understand why you're doing that and that you control nobody else's reality. And you should remove that from your expectations or from their things, because you don't control them. You only control yours.
Yeah, that is true. And sometimes that's very hard when you're in a relationship or if you're at work.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard to have to, so to speak,
deal with their shenanigans.
Eat that crap sandwich. But just remembering that you get to choose how you feel. If it's a task that you've negotiated in your job description, for example, in an environment where you work for a company, you negotiated to do that.
Agreed.
And if it's getting to a place where it just is not feeling good or you're not in agreement anymore, you get to make that choice still. It still is your choice.
100%.
Of how you are looking at it. We use the word perceive a lot, so I thought I'd change it up. And so if you can, if you're not in a place where you're ready to release that particular job, or even if you want to hang on to it, you can definitely teach yourself how to look at it differently, whatever the topic is.
Yes.
Same in the relationship. If that person, which this happens quite often, when you come together as partners, you're going to go through your individual journeys at different paces because you're not always going to be at the same pace.
Well, that's where the big mistake is.
You're not always going to vibrate at the same frequency because you're having not only a collective united journey, but you're also having individual journeys within that.
I totally agree. And that's where everybody loses it right there. They lose the fact that they're still on their own journey. And they go to, both of them will dive into co-creating a single journey.
and forget that they're
forget
on
where they are.
individual journeys.
Then expectations and all that stuff comes up. And like we just said, you don't control anybody else's reality. And so that causes, after the honeymoon, what they say that what the honeymoon period is over, that can cause a whole lot of dissension in a relationship.
Yeah, especially if you have this expectation or this societal definition that you're supposed to be vibrating at the same frequency all the time and at the same pace.
Yes.
Then you're going to expect for
there's that word.
Your partner to do and act in certain ways, and they may not even be able to because they're not there yet.
Totally agree.
And getting to a place where you can find the peace within yourself of letting them be where they are and understanding that they're not doing anything to you. They're just where they are.
Yep.
And you coming to a place of, okay, they are where they are, and all I can control is me, not my bubble, not my business.
It's societal taught.
Yeah.
And because people go into relationships and society has taught them, y'all have to merge everything. Once you get married, everything has to be together. You should do everything together, la, 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 la. And you have individual lives and journeys. And it makes zero sense if you stop thinking about it. Y'all fell in love because of the places that you were.
Yeah.
And so, hey, let's get married, let's change everything up and then create one journey instead of having two that are coming together.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a recipe for disaster.
Well, and back in the day, that was created that way.
I agree.
The challenge within the game was, okay, how do we take two individuals? I'm going to go down a rabbit hole for a second. Back in the day, part of the game was to take two individuals who are on their individual journeys and come together with another being called a human and figure out how to merge and have a united journey.
Yeah.
And essentially, they did figure out how to do that.
I want a black toaster.
Each gender had to give up certain components and certain aspects.
Yeah.
And each individual had to compromise on certain beliefs and patterns. And so what it did is it created a beautiful opportunity for people to work through definitions, beliefs, patterns, and programs at that level of the game.
That's right.
But as a whole, as an all that is, we have ascended past that concept. And now we're playing the game. It's very exciting of how to allow a triad or a three-dimensional relationship come into being.
Yes.
So you're learning how to not only let an individual in the group have their individual journey, but also at the same time creating a united journey.
Yes.
And so that's doing two things. One, it's allowing us to experience relationships on a descended level.
Yes.
The next level of the game. But two, what it's doing for the collective is it is showing us how existence is happening simultaneously.
Yes.
It's exposing us to that concept a little baby bite at a time.
Yes.
And so we're evolving to that place of thinning the veil between having a linear time-space reality to having that awareness that things are happening simultaneously and all at the same time.
Okay. So yeah, the ascended level of that thought is really where people should put them at in those, and put themselves into, and the belief system behind what they're doing. If they can mimic what you just said perfectly, they're going to have a great world.
Well, even if they can't mimic what I just said, there still is the opportunity and the hope of having a great world anyway, because you go into it knowing that all of this is happening for you.
Yeah.
And the exciting childlike exploration is that, wow, yeah, this is really uncomfortable, but I know around the corner there is much growth, and
Yes.
growth is always exciting.
Yeah, totally.
And coming out on the other side of it, being able to look back and say, you know what? That was tough, but by golly, I did that.
Yeah.
I did it. That
I
feels
made it
really
through it.
good. I
Yeah.
made it through it.
Yeah.
And it feels really good. And it just is, it's part of the process. We like that way that feels.
Yeah. And I think everything we're describing today, where people get their hope from, is understanding that they're in control.
Yeah. And
they're in control of their reality.
Yeah, for sure. And understanding that the goal was never to come here and find your way to bliss and then just hang out there.
Yeah, because then you don't learn anything and have no experiences.
Well, I mean, your natural state of being is bliss.
Yes,
you already know when you awaken from this human dream that you're having, you go back to your natural state of being when you kick the bucket, then you go back to bliss where none of this contrast exists. So you already know what bliss feels like. And so it would not be a very
pointless
expanded experience.
Yes, I agree.
So you're going to go up and down that scale.
Correct. And what a big, this is a really big topic, and with hope, and I think where a lot of people mess up is we've been societally taught that we have to do certain things in our life, and realize that we don't have to do these things that society teaches us. We can do whatever we want, how we want to do them, as long as we follow by the contractual obligations of ourself and of the world we're living in. And when you empower yourself to understand you control your reality, it gives you more hope. And so when you're in that realm of I'm unhappy, I'm depressed, I don't understand what's going on, why does this keep happening to me? Pull yourself away for a moment and say, is it really that bad?
I mean, sometimes you can't even get there, honestly, when you're in that true despair, bottom of the bucket. And so if we're going to talk about tiny little baby steps for a second, just if you're in that moment of despair and literally the next best feeling thing is to lay in the bed and mope or cry or just lay in the bed and not be able to get out of the bed, then allow yourself to do that with the freedom of judgment.
Yeah.
Because if that's where you are, then that's where you are. But if you're going to sit there and criticize yourself of, oh, here I am laying in the bed again. I can't even get up and get a shower. I can't even, and you're criticizing yourself. You're just piling more garbage on top of your despair. I'm such a bad person because I can't get out of bed today.
Yeah.
Getting to a place where you're allowing the despair to be just the same as you're allowing the anger to be. And if the best feeling place you can find in that moment is giving yourself permission to lay in the bed.
Yeah. Agreed.
That in and of itself is growth and expansion.
Agreed.
Because you've gotten to a place where you can allow yourself to lay in the bed and mope without self-criticizing or hearing that motherly voice say, you're so lazy, get up out of the bed.
Get out of the bed.
Or fatherly or whatever.
Are you going to sleep all day?
Voices in your head, husband, wife, whatever. Getting to a place where you just are giving yourself permission to be where you are.
Yeah.
No matter what the title of it is. That is a very huge step. And in that by itself will be very freeing, and that will change your vibrational frequency. Just giving yourself permission to be in despair for a minute will actually elevate you to that place of hope very quickly.
Yeah.
Because what holds you in the despair is that criticizing, judgmental monkey mind of the conversation or the inner dialogue of how bad of a person you are for being where you're at.
Correct. I agree. And the last thing I want to say, because I feel pretty complete, is just know that you are loved. Because Jenny and I love you. If you don't believe it, call us. We'll talk to you. Call that number on our website. We'll talk to you. We ain't got no problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, you have a purpose. You are part of the puzzle, and you are loved.
Yep, I agree. Do you feel complete?
Yeah, I'm good.
All righty then. Hey guys, I appreciate everybody listening. We hope that this podcast gave you a little bit of understanding where you can find hope when you're not in a good mood, or you're depressed, or you feel down, or you feel like your life is not in the right place. We hope it did give you hope.
One fun thing to do would be to order you a little cardboard luggage. They have these little boxes that look like luggage.
Yeah.
And put in that little piece of luggage something that brings about that feeling, like a little tiny picture of somebody, or a little tiny fuzzy ball, something that makes you feel good. And it's a light luggage, which reminds you to be light about it and be fun loving, but it also helps bring with you tools that could very quickly and easily pop you out of that place if you find yourself in that place.
Yeah. Okay. What do you do with the luggage when you put your little stuff in it?
You put it in your purse. You tote it around with you.
Okay, I get it. Okay, kind of like a
we talk about having luggage.
Okay.
And we talk about having the heavy luggage that you're dragging around.
Okay, I understand now. I was lost for a moment.
This is a little cardboard box that looks like a suitcase.
Yeah.
And so being able to put a little picture of your child or your grandchild, or some little, like a little fuzzy rabbit that feels good when you rub on it.
Oh, okay.
Something in the little box. And the symbology of it is that this particular piece of luggage that has my tricks to conquer despair it's light. And so it's a reminder to stay light and not get too heavy with it.
Okay.
But then it also holds the tools that can possibly help pop you out of that moment when you get triggered back into the hopelessness or the despair places.
Get it. Okay. I understand now.
Yeah.
I was a little confused for a moment. Anyway, hey.
Now I'm complete.
Okay, now you're complete. Okay, hey guys, I appreciate y'all listening. Don't forget to look us up on our website at www.themerckcenters.org. And our social media is at the Merck Centers. That's MERCCENTERS. And that's our website as well. Give us a call. Do not hesitate to give us a call, put a comment, email, whatever. You can get our email through our website. You can comment on these podcasts, and just reach out if you need us. We're here.
Yeah, we're here. And ring the bell.
Yep, ring the bell for all the notifications. Hey, you'll have an awesome day. We love you.
Love you.